Here's what nobody tells you about the biggest relationship mistake you're probably making right now. You think you can spot manipulation from a mile away, but what if I told you that you might be trapped in a toxic dynamic and not even realize it? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to recognize warning signs that most people completely miss. We live in a world with over 7 billion people, each carrying their own baggage, goals, and complicated emotions. Most of us barely understand our own feelings half the time, yet here we are, forced to navigate complex relationships with friends, family, romantic partners, and colleagues. The scary part. Some of these people might be slowly destroying your mental health without you even noticing. Everyone knows about obvious red flags. The serial cheater, the person who only calls when they need something, or someone who leaves crumbs in the butter after making toast. But what about the red flags that only emerge after you've built trust and connection with someone? These are the dangerous ones, because by the time they appear, your judgment is already clouded by positive feelings. When you have a good opinion of someone, it becomes incredibly easy to rationalize their problematic behavior. You start making excuses like, they're basically a good person, or they wouldn't hurt me intentionally. This is where most people get trapped. Your history together creates blind spots that prevent you from seeing toxic patterns clearly. The truth is, most people are too nice, too passive, or too understanding for their own good. This might sound harsh, but being overly accommodating makes you a perfect target for manipulative behavior. The result? Toxic relationships are way more common than you'd expect, and you might be in one right now without realizing it. Let me paint you a picture of how manipulation actually works. Forget the dramatic scenarios you see in movies. Real manipulation doesn't happen overnight with obvious villainous behavior. It's subtle, gradual, and wrapped in concern or love. Imagine Chad and Sally are dating. Instead of obviously forcing Sally to stay home, Chad might start making small comments about her friends. "I don't like how Nick talks to all those girls. That's kinda weird, don't you think?" Or, "Dawn drinks too much. That's pretty irresponsible." These tiny seeds of doubt get planted one by one, slowly eroding Sally's trust in her friend group, while increasing her dependence on Chad's opinions. After months of this subtle conditioning, Sally finds herself isolated from her support system without realizing how it happened. Chad never explicitly banned her from seeing friends. Instead, he systematically made her question their worth until she naturally pulled away. This is textbook emotional manipulation, and it's happening everywhere. The reason this works so effectively is because everything feels normal in real life. Think about how we're taught that drugs are dangerous. You imagine some sketchy dealer in a dark alley offering substances to innocent victims. But reality looks different. You're at a small gathering with close friends. Everyone's having a great time, and suddenly someone casually pulls out a baggie and says, "Hey, I've got some stuff if anyone wants to try it." There's no dramatic music or warning sirens. It's your friend from 5th grade, someone you trust and respect. Your brain gets confused because the situation doesn't match your expectations. The same thing happens with emotional abuse. It doesn't look like what you've been conditioned to expect, so you miss the signs. This is why you need to define clear boundaries for how people should treat you, and respect yourself enough to enforce them. Emotionally abusive relationships are incredibly common, and they mess with your head in ways that can leave you feeling powerless and confused. One of the most common tactics is emotional blackmail. This involves using guilt, fear, and obligation to control your behavior. Someone might use threats like, "Do this or I'll hurt you," or even more manipulative statements like, "Do this or I'll hurt myself." These situations put you in an impossible position because you care about the person and don't want them to suffer. Here comes a hard truth that might be difficult to accept. You are not personally responsible for anyone else's happiness. I know this sounds cold, especially when someone you care about is struggling with depression, low self-esteem, or other mental health issues. But assigning this responsibility to yourself is a recipe for disaster. You might think, "But they have really bad self-esteem and I'm worried about them." Or, "They're really depressed and can't help it, so I feel like I need to fix this." Stop right there. Mental illness doesn't excuse someone from maintaining healthy relationship boundaries. It means they need professional help, not that you should sacrifice your well-being to manage their emotions. Most people aren't equipped to handle serious mental health issues anyway. The best thing you can do is encourage them to seek help from trained professionals while protecting your own emotional space. You have your own challenges to deal with, and you can't pour from an empty cup. I like to think of myself as my own little ecosystem that I need to maintain every day. If there's a person or relationship that feels like pollution in my environment, I need to step back and honestly assess whether they belong in my life. It might sound harsh, but nobody else is going to protect your mental ecosystem for you. Communication is the key to determining whether a relationship can be salvaged or needs to end. Try saying something like, "Hey, your behavior has been affecting me negatively, and I need you to stop." Pay close attention to their response. A healthy person will take responsibility, apologize, and ask how they can do better. But if they respond with defensiveness, blame shifting, or gaslighting comments like, "How was I supposed to know?" or "Why are you being so sensitive?" that's a clear sign you're dealing with someone who isn't willing to change. These responses indicate toxic behavior that will likely continue. Set clear boundaries about how much you can give in the relationship, and make sure both of you have independent support systems. Don't become each other's only source of emotional support because that creates unhealthy codependency. Also, take an honest look at your own behavior. Are you constantly making excuses for this person to others? Do people you trust consistently express concerns about them? Sometimes we get so caught up in rationalizing someone's behavior that we lose perspective on what's actually happening. Don't forget that you might be contributing to relationship problems too. Self-reflection is crucial. Ask yourself if you're acting out of spite, anger, or jealousy. Are you being manipulative in subtle ways? It's tough to admit your faults, but maintaining authentic relationships requires brutal honesty with yourself. Interestingly, people who manipulate others often don't realize they're being manipulative. Nobody wakes up thinking, "I'm going to emotionally abuse someone today." This is why examining your own contributions to relationship dynamics is so important. Sometimes the healthiest solution is ending the relationship entirely, even though it can feel like giving up or admitting defeat. Two people can be individually wonderful but simply incompatible together. That's not anyone's fault. It's just reality. If you feel like leaving a relationship would be dangerous for either you or them, that's actually a strong indication that you should leave immediately. Healthy relationships don't involve fear or threats. Someone should want to be with you, not need you desperately in ways that feel suffocating or dangerous. Your ecosystem should be able to sustain itself independently. Relationships should be like fertilizer that helps you grow, not life support that you can't survive without. If you're struggling to break away from a toxic situation, Focus on building your confidence and support network. Journal your thoughts, practice positive self-talk, and treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being, especially when dealing with someone who drains your emotional energy. When you do end a problematic relationship, remember why things didn't work. Write it down if necessary. Many people try to rekindle relationships before the underlying issues have been addressed. People need time and professional help to make real changes. You don't owe anyone a second chance if they haven't put in the work to fix their problems. Here are some questions to help you evaluate your relationships. Do you find yourself avoiding their calls or messages? Do you feel worse after spending time with them? Have they ever threatened you or themselves? Do they make you feel incapable of making decisions independently? Do they frequently ask for money or favors without reciprocating? Do they talk negatively about you behind your back? Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them? Do they put you down or make you question your worth? If you answered yes to more than one of these questions, it's time to either have serious conversations about change or consider ending the relationship entirely. The bottom line is this: you deserve clean air in your personal ecosystem. Don't tolerate pollution just because you're afraid of being alone or because you feel guilty about prioritizing your own needs. I've talked to so many amazing people who nearly destroyed themselves trying to save someone else. Once you start discussing these topics openly, you realize that almost everyone has been through something similar. The good news is that these situations are completely preventable once you know what to